Mr. Lyndon Price.
Hello. Fire away.
Cool. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, Lyndon Price is he owns Red Rock Studios in South Wales. He's a sound engineer. He plays guitar. He's been playing for years.
About that long.
About that long. It's been years. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Pleasure. And you played in various bands.
I have.
Awesome.
So from about the age of 16, I think that's when I started playing.
Cool. Okay.
Like everybody, I had a guitar, never learned to play, you know, and I think the guitar I had couldn't be played.
Okay. Yeah.
It was pretty bad. But a mate who played guitar, we used to go down his house and watch him play, and I thought, well, he can play a bit, and also the guitar he was selling it. I thought, well, I'll just buy that because I know it can be played. So I bought that off him, and then I started from there. I bought myself a chord book, and off I went. You know.
Cool.
Just learning bits of my favourite bands, you know.
Yeah.
Putting the needle back on the record, you know. Listen to it again, trying to slow it down. That's all you had then, like a pitch bend thing, you know, speed bend thing. But that's where I started. About 16, 17, something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. So you at that point though, you already had favourites. You already had, you know, you already knew you were, because obviously you're into rock and metal.
Yeah, I was big Kiss, Scorpions, Dio, all the metal bands of the day. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Pretty blinking, I suppose, really, but that's what I loved, you know. So I would just put my favourite albums on and try and figure bits out. I wouldn't figure all of it out because I was not good. But it was a good learning curve, and you know, it at least it got me somewhere, you know. And a couple of, well, probably a year or so down the line, I had a couple of lessons. They were in the local YMCA. They were giving free guitar lessons. So I thought, that's for me, because I had no money. So I rocked up there, and the guy there was like a rock guy, and it was only him and me. There was nobody else there.
Okay.
I would go down through the summer holidays, and I would spend all day with this guy. His name was Nigel, and he just taught me all rock stuff I never knew. Or he'd say, bring like a cassette in of your favourite songs, and we'll just go through it, you know. And I could bring a Kiss song down or something, and then I'd just see the way he figured it out. You know, you'd find the root note, I think, and you'd build from there. And I'd go, and something in me went, I can see how that's done, you know.
Right.
And but I remember the first day I went down, he said, show me what you got, I'd like to play a bit. So off I went, you know. And he said, what the hell's that? It's just rubbish. I went, I thought it was alright.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I went on every day over the summer holidays, and I'd have lunch with this guy, and then we'd go back in the afternoon and learn some more songs, you know. It was great. I'm still friends with him to this day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that was, you said it was about 16 when you got that guitar from your friend.
Yeah.
So was this was after that, or?
Yeah, that was after. Yeah.
How old do you think you were then?
I was about a year out of school, 17, something like that.
Yeah, right.
You know, 18. And I played it. I remember getting trying to get bands together. And I remember a couple of friends. We got a band together. I played a gig after about a year. I think of playing.
Sure.
It wasn't successful, but I played a gig, you know.
Right.
And then it was the usual thing of just trying to find the right people and trying to find your way so you could actually be a band that played regularly and be good. You know?
Yeah.
But it was a journey. I mean, I think probably took to be in a good band until I was about 20, I suppose, really.
Okay.
You know, yeah. So, but a lot of jamming, a lot of trying out in different halls and YMCAs and different practice places. But in the end, then we ended up with a band called Mariner, which morphed into a band with a really bad name called Wild Pussy. We were called that because it was a joke band. We just started. Guys met in a pub on a Saturday night and said, "There's a band playing on Wednesday. Perhaps we can support them. What should we call ourselves?" And there was a band called Mad Dog at the time. So I was Mad Dog. We made them Wild Pussy. Fine. And that was it. Drew a cat. That was our logo. And we started from. So we started with a bad name, and we were stuck with it for years, you know. But actually, a lot of people remember it, you know. People of that age, anyway, you know. And we did quite well. We made a record, and that did okay. And we played like in London and Nottingham and quite a few places around the country, you know.
Cool.
The famous Marquee Club, we played there twice.
Okay.
And Astoria in London, you know.
Wow.
But,
okay. Yeah.
But it didn't quite work. You know.
That is quite a distinctive name. You can't forget that, can you?
We changed the name from Wild Pussy. We changed the member. The other lead guitarist, Rob, he left. He fell in love like everybody does, you know. And we changed the name then. When we got a new guitarist, we changed it. It was Religion then for the last 4 years, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was this was the same lineup then?
Apart from the guitarist, it was the same lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had a bit more of a heavier edge because the guitarist who joined, he was younger than us, and he was into the Panteras, and which was big at the time, and we kind of went in that direction a little bit, you know.
Okay.
But I suppose we were more like dual harmonies. That was our thing, you know. And our singer used to wear like makeup. He was a big guy. He was like 30 stone fella.
Right.
In lycra, you know. So he was quite an intimidating presence on stage. But it was about the dual harmony. That was our thing. There was a band at the time called Halloween, and people compared us to them, you know.
Okay.
They're still going. They've got back together. So.
Right. Yeah.
They did better than us. Yeah. Yeah.
So is that band 2, 3?
I suppose the first band was Mariner, which was just the first thing.
Yeah.
Which became Wild Pussy, which became Religion, which was kind of the same band. And then that ended then. So that was that ended about 92, 93, something like that. It might be a bit later than that. But I had a job in Cardiff in Grassroots Studio. We went to record there, and me being interested in recording, I said to the guy, I said, "Well, any jobs going?" And he said, "Nope." So by the end of the day, though, he kind of liked the band, and he offered me the tape op job, you know.
Right.
On a training thing, you know, program thing.
The what? Sorry, the.
Like a tape operator. Like
okay.
Now there's no such thing as a tape op anymore, but there used to be like a 2-inch tape that you recorded 24 tracks onto.
Right.
And my job was to press record, stop, rewind, and that was my first job in the studio. Back then people used to splice tapes together and stuff, you know. We never did that because we were like budget studios.
Yeah, right.
But so I never got to like using a razor blade or anything like that. But also it was like when you put a punch in on a tape, you've got to preempt it slightly because there's a delay between the time the head comes down on the tape. You know. So and if you get it wrong, you can't undo.
Right.
You know. So that was the hard thing.
Yeah.
So I was there for a few years and I learned a few things there, like, you know. And I remember a lot of bands come through there, like Super Furry Animals, Eddie and the Hot Rods, I remember them. I remember playing some session guitar for them. Catatonia, I remember Catatonia. Keris Matthews used to work upstairs in the studio. She's a nice girl. But they went on to great things, didn't they? Fair play to them. Yeah. But yeah, oodles and oodles of bands.
Yeah. So you were there for a few years.
2.5, 3 years, something like that.
Yeah. That's a fair while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only went from being a tape op into doing recording
Okay.
and taking on some engineering duties as well.
Right.
So with our boss, it was Paul Durant was the boss, and it was me and another guy called Steve Davis, not the snooker player. We would run the things most of the time. If the band wasn't too great, the boss would go off down to Crane's, down to the music shop, and me and him would do it, But yeah, so it was good though. We had great fun, And we had some downtime where we'd record our own things as well,
Right.
But it was quite a small place, but it was in the middle of Cardiff, so there was lots of acts coming through.
Right. Yeah. So when was this era wise? Was this 90s? Was this
90s, early 90s or so? Yeah.
90s, yeah.
I put up like 92. I think it was 92 we went to record there. So I'm not sure when the band split up. It was probably about maybe 95 then, maybe, by the time we split up.
Sure.
Because we did a few things with that lineup. And then I went out of it really. We split up. We were just about to go on tour with a band called Zentrix, who we liked. And we didn't know how we were going to finance the tour. We were going to go around the country. And before we went, we ended up in a blazing argument. We split up in a practice room one night. And it basically ended up, the drummer, the bass player, and the other guitarist went off and did their thing. And it was just me and the singer left. So we stopped doing original music then, and we played the clubs, covers, just as a duo. I'd finished in the studio by this point, but I had a studio in my house, a little studio, and he would come up on the weekends and we'd record ideas, We started a project, it was called Damaged Gods. And we wrote about 3 or 4 songs with our lineup, and we also had a German keyboard player came in towards the end of it, which added another dimension to it. And we wrote 3 or 4 really good songs, but it didn't go anywhere. Not a live band or anything.
Right. Okay.
There still exists some of those songs. There was a song called Gods and Monsters, which was a killer song. To be fair, it was really good.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, I might resurrect it one day, but
yeah.
So that went on for a while, and then I just got a normal job then, managing bedding shops.
Okay, yeah, right.
I did that for about 5 or 6 years.
Right, okay,
and didn't play in bands for a long time until I just thought, oh God, I got the urge again, I just went into the free ads and band looking for guitar player. Just rang him up and joined. Right. I went down to the rehearsal room and for the audition, and the bass player went, "Oh, you was in Wild Pussy." I went, yeah, I was in then because he knew where I was. And can you do a gig in 2 weeks? I went, yes. And they were called Interstate. They were nice boys. I played with them for a year or so, and until they we tried to form half of Interstate and half of Wild Pussy, me and the singer, tried to get a band together, but it didn't quite work.
Right.
It was just practicing.
Yeah, right.
After that, then so what happened after that? I'm trying to think. So we had Interstate. I think me and Tony continued to write songs. After the betting shop, then that's when my dad said, "Well, why don't you open a studio? You always wanted to." I never thought about really finding somewhere and doing it. That really wasn't me, but I did. I found a place, rented it, and my mission. This was in the April. My mission was not to go bankrupt by Christmas. This is 2003 now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't long before everything was really flying.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
So I've been here now about 22 years.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I know. I was in my 30s when I started.
That's amazing.
I'm not now.
32. So like.
I'll be about 36 or something like that. But
wow, That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, all the bands and all the best thing has been all the friends I've made. You know, and you know, don't go out drinking friends, but everybody's, you know, and if you treat people like you want to be treated and don't be, you know, condescending or anything, you know, you tend to get on with everybody and they all come back, you know, as long as you don't muck anything up. So yeah, so, you know, I always, the more I've been here, I try to be as honest as I can be with people, you know, because obviously if somebody's not as talented as somebody else, you don't want to be running them down or saying, look, this is awful. There might be a day when they're not like that, they get better, you know. But I have to be honest with people, and some things you come in are not recordable, and you have to say that, you know, this isn't, you need to go back and rehearse, you know. But obviously you want people to come in because that pays my way, you know. But at the same time, you've got to be straight with everybody. I try to be anyway. You know.
Yeah, I imagine that's very difficult to do, because that's not easy to tell somebody, or even a full band. I can't even imagine how you'd go about telling them, really, in a polite way, if they aren't prepared.
Yeah, just to be honest. And I make the mistake of recording people who were not prepared. It happens every now and again.
Yeah.
To the point where a band the other week came in and they said, we wrote this song Wednesday and we're on the Saturday, and I thought, this is not the stuff. The drummer didn't have his parts sorted. I ended up going in and saying, look, you need to play this here, that there, try this. Of course, at the same time, they need to be finished quickly because they haven't got a big budget.
Right.
So if they were prepared, that wouldn't happen.
No.
You know? So I found myself saying to bands, they'll say, well, we want to come and record. I said, can I listen to you first? You know.
Right.
So I can say, look, you either A, you're ready to go, or maybe you should think about this bit or that bit. It's not quite up to snuff.
Right.
You know? I think that's the best way to go about it now. It took me a long time to realise that, because there was a time, would I take anything? You know, you've got to make a living. But it kind of hurts me as well as them if it doesn't come out good, you know. So, you know, that's the way I approach it now.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's my way. I don't know if that's everybody's way, but the amount of work you have to do with a band that is not as up to scratch as a well-established band, it's harder to do those guys. For me it is, anyway. So you're thinking, all the time you record, you're thinking, all right, I got to fix that, I can fix that, then it'll be something else, and by the time you get to the end of the day, you're thinking, there's so much I have to fix, and they haven't got the money to pay for that, really.
No, right.
You know? So then you've got to bring your prices down to get it done. I mean, you spend a lot of hours trying to fix stuff, and you don't get a lot of reward for it.
No.
You know? So, yeah, so it's good if they can make sure they rehearse. I remember years ago when we started Well Pussy, we recorded a demo by Bliner, and we didn't know anything. You know, it was 3 songs, and the guy there, when we came to do the guitars, we used to have effects pedals, you know, like Boss and whatever, and we used to go into amplifiers like everybody else. But he made us go straight from our pedals into the desk, so it sounded like a bee in a tin, you know.
Right.
So we were like, well, that doesn't sound good. And he'd go, yes, it sounds great, don't worry about it, it's great. Oh, okay then, we didn't know, you know. And the demo just sounded like bees in tins. And so that was our first demo. The second, we got this deal thing with Ebony Records then, where we were on a compilation album. And we had a double bass drum kit, and they mixed it. It was a terrible experience. The guy wasn't very nice. But the double bass drum kit there, it mixed the one bass drum louder than the other. So it didn't sound level. And that was terrible. We paid a lot of money for that.
Right.
So we thought, oh, it's us. And then a mate of ours played in a band called Tiger Tails, and he said, you ought to try Tim Lewis in Local Studios. He's great. So we went and met with him first in his house and talked to him, and he just said, rehearse, make sure you rehearse. That is everything, he said. And we did. We made sure we were tight on every little bit. There wasn't a part of that song, or those 4 songs, that we didn't know inside out. And then we went in. I remember putting the headphones on and doing the guide tracks and thought, oh, that sounds like a record already.
Right.
You know, and the quality was different, you know,
Right.
and he knew what he was doing, you know.
Yeah.
And that was our EP, like it came out great. I think it was 3 days we've been in there. Cost about 1,500 quid. It costs less now. You know, I was in 1987, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blimey. Yeah, the difference, that must have been staggering, the difference from one studio to another, because I can see that if you were being recorded and it wasn't maybe to standard, you'd then reflect and you'd kind of go, is it us?
Yeah.
But then going to somewhere else where the standard is really there,
Well, the guy knew what he was doing.
that must have been
Understood
brilliant.
it. Yeah, it did make a lot of difference, and they were helpful, and they were talented guys. They were musicians themselves, you know. There was Tim Lewis and a boy called Martin Shellard, who was a great guitar player, and I remember I had an Iron Man aria, like a Finn Flying V type thing, and it played great, but it sounded terrible. And he'd arranged to put some EMGs in it before I started, some pickups, and he literally wired them in, and I went go, and I did my tracks. And I was like, wow. But yeah, they were helpful, you know. They organised that for me as well, you know.
Cool.
But, yeah, where were we?
I'm just going to quickly double check that we're all okay, if that's all right, and then we can
Anyway,
flick back on. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it's.
what should we talk about next?
So I want to ask. I'd like to ask about. Well, when you bring a band in, would you say that the most clear sign that a band is pro or really good is that when you bring them in to record, they're prepared?
Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah.
And obviously, not everybody's got a different amount of talent or different amount of experience. So yeah, the bands, that is the big thing, rehearsal. But obviously, there are people who have got more talent than others. It's just the way in the world, isn't it? But that is the thing. I mean, that saves you money and time.
Yeah.
You know, which a lot of people haven't got a lot of money. You know.
Yeah,
You know,
of course.
And the other thing is, like somebody would come in here and say, "Oh, I'm coming. Show me what you do. Show me some of the bands you record." So obviously, I'll play them the stuff I like that I did you know. And they go, "Great, we'll come. That sounds great. We'll come here." But that stuff took months, you know, and they want to record 5 songs in a day.
Right.
You can't put the same amount of effort
No.
and craft into that, really. You
No.
know, if they're really tight and they're on the money, you can get a good product in a day or two, you know. But like, you can't put the work into it, you know, in that time.
No.
You know. But yeah, I will obviously not play you my best stuff, and I'm
Of course.
you know,
Yeah,
that's
of
the way
course.
it is. But
Yeah.
but preparation, that's what it all comes down to, you know.
Yeah. So it's quite clear that maybe when you start recording and people are just, you know, they haven't got it together, and you kind of think this is going to be a lot of work, maybe.
Yeah, and obviously you can work with it, you know, if they can figure it out in the time they're here. But you know, I'm being a guitarist, you know, it's like you're not going to solo sorted. I'll just play anything, I'll get something, you know. But
Right.
you know, 2 hours later, I was still waiting for this amazing solo.
Yes,
you know, and,
right.
yeah, so like even playing guitar solos, it's like learning the rhythm. Come up with something before you come in, then you can put it down in 2 or 3 takes, you know.
Yeah.
But there are other people who've got a bigger budget and they will spend a lot of time coming up with stuff, you know. Whereas years ago, everybody would record in here. Now I get more like things will be recorded outside here and sent to me. So
Okay.
it's like a lot of people record in their houses, like guitar parts, and it gets sent to me. They can't do drums, so I can do the drums. So I find myself I work with a guy called Jay Pepper. He does most of the guitars in his house. And then we do the drums here and vocals here. Most of the vocals, but he recorded violin parts on there, so it gets sent back and forth,
Yeah.
you know. I done a punk band where the guitars were done in France and the drums were done here, the vocals were done somewhere else.
Wow.
That's the way it is now. You know.
Yeah. Wow. So has that changed much over the years then? Because you've been in business here for 22 years now.
Mm.
That changed a lot. So in the last maybe 5-10 years, I imagine that would have become more and more frequent with.
Yeah, I'd say even longer than that.
Yeah, really.
The last 10 years, definitely get things from other studios.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Whereas first of all, it was just everybody came in and recorded everything.
Right.
And that was the way it was. You know.
Yeah.
But as technology got more and more, you could send stuff to each other. You know, it's going to go that way, really, isn't it? You know, and it's great, you know, because they can save a bit of money that way, and I don't mind that. You know, as long as it's recorded okay. You know.
Well, that was my next question: is do you find that, in your experience, that it's a lower quality when people are recording these things, say at home or something like that, than if they were to do the whole product in the studio?
Not always.
No.
Because, like I said, the guy I work with, he got his own Pro Tool set up, so it's just as long as he's got a decent mic, and you know, he's okay. Sometimes he doesn't. Doing a country album where the guy sent me all the vocals from his house with reverb and delay on it on all the tracks. I said, well, what can I do with that? So
Yeah,
you had to do it again. You come in here and done it again.
Right.
But so can't you take that off? Well, not once you've done it.
No.
You know, it's got a reverb on it. I can't take it off, really. You know.
Yeah.
But but you know, most of the time it works all right. You know, obviously, when you're sending stuff back and forth, it all has to be consolidated and it all has to start at the same point. Otherwise, you get it all over the place. Sometimes I'll be sent up like a violin part. I put it into the song, and the violin comes up in the wrong part of the song. So then you've got to kind of move it to where you think it should be, you know. So it's handy to know that people will consolidate from the start of the song. You give them, when you give them the song, give it from the start, so that when they give it back to you, give whatever they're going to play on the song, it comes back and it just slides into the song now.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think there's probably a massive amount of small things like that that a professional like yourself, you in the studio, you know, you're not making those errors. It's not all over the place.
Yeah.
But then when you're working with people, I'm sure that's just an extra complexity that.
Yeah, it does happen. Even for guys I work with who know this, they still don't do it sometimes.
Yeah,
you know.
right.
But you know, being a musician, you can kind of see where things go. You know, you'll move it. It's a bit more work, but you find where it goes in the end. But you have to.
Yeah,
You know?
I suppose. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But you know, there's a lot of talented people, and I've had some good bands in here. You know, bands that should have done really well. You know, and you've got to admire them really, because you know they play all around the area for next to nothing. You know, and they get petrol money or not even that, you know, and they're still dedicated, and they buying instruments and spend a lot of money on recording, and what do they get at the end? You know, it's only the satisfaction of playing gigs, I suppose.
Yeah.
But if the important thing is to get a following. They have to get a following, because if you don't have a following, you'll never make money. You know.
No.
You put your CD out, if nobody knows who you are, nobody's buying that. You know, so yeah, getting a following is the most important thing. But at the same time, they don't get any money for it, and they have to finance it themselves.
Yeah, I think you're bang on there. Absolutely.
Even bands who were signed, you know, the bands who would say, I remember a band who used to come here signed to Roadrunner Records. That's a big record company. Well, they would support in big metal bands around the world, you know, like Rob Zombie or Anthrax or Ozzy once, I remember which one, and they're doing great. But I went to see them at their gig. It was like a handful of people, and
really?
They still couldn't afford practice money, and you know, and so I don't know they managed to do it really, because trying to get money, even at a big record company, is really hard. You know. Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough business. You've got to love it if you're going to do it. You know, musicians. Got to, take your hat off to people who play in bands. Really, I play in a duo doing covers or a cover band, I get more money than them.
Yeah.
And I didn't write any of those songs. I just performing them. It's the wrong way round, really. Somebody who's talented at writing their own songs should have some reward, but it just isn't our way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think you're absolutely right. I've seen so many bands on even just the local circuits, and exactly that. I mean, it's got to be split between 4 or 5 members. I think once upon a time, maybe that was viable. Maybe you were talking years ago. I'd never seen it, but nowadays you're talking. If you play a local pub, all of a sudden it's split between 5 guys, and it's difficult.
It is. I mean, back in the 80s, when I was trying to get somewhere, there was a carrot. If you got signed, you had a sign-on fee, and there was a budget. Plus you got paid better then than you do now.
Right.
But it's nuts, really.
Yeah. Why?
And I know owners of pubs and venues, they know they can get bands for next to nothing.
Yeah.
So the bands will just take anything, And if everybody made a stand and said no, maybe we get some more money. But they're just so desperate to play, and I can understand that. I still love playing, but I do get something for it. Not a fortune, but at least you get something.
Yeah.
But the original bands, they get very little,
It's a different scene, isn't it? The original band scene is extremely. It seems very competitive, and I think you're right. Yeah, it's very little carrot, really.
It is unfortunate. It's unfortunate, That the people who support you on Facebook or your followers, they don't tend to come out to gigs, to see you. We got 1,000 followers. They're not going to turn up at the gig. You might get a handful.
Right. Yeah. So, if say there's a musician out there now, 18 years old, they've been learning their instruments, what advice would you give them starting out in 2025?
I mean, you've got to love it.
Yeah.
There's no reward, really. It's very unlikely. I mean, like my route where I play covers, let's get something. But if you want to do something, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to be incredibly lucky now. I think you've got to be a pushy person, because so many people are laid back. They don't get anywhere. The people who are forcing, trying promoters and trying to get in somewhere, these people are annoying, but they're the people who do get somewhere.
Right, yeah,
if they came in you think, oh, that guy, a bit pushy. But actually, they are the type of people who do actually get something out of it,
Okay.
But out of all the people who come here over the years, I mean, I can only think of one person who's big, the band I talked about earlier on, the guitarist ended up playing for Bullet for My Valentine. And I think he's the only guy I can think of.
Yeah, right.
Some people got certain levels, and obviously a band I went with, Tiger Tails, they were quite big. But they were big before they came here. So, but yeah, he got through the net because he really pushed it as well.
Okay.
One thing didn't work. His band really wasn't they got so far, they had an album out and everything, and videos, but he suddenly thought, hang on, there's an opportunity here if I can get an audition. He played guitar, but he said I could play bass, I could get in there if I could learn their songs, and he did an audition here, and eventually he got in. He's a big part of that band now.
Wow.
And that's great, but he's the only guy I can think of,
Right.
He's really got out big time.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, Bullet for My Valentine are massive, aren't they?
Well, they're big, aren't they?
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah. They might be somebody else, I can't think though, but different levels.
Yeah, so you think pushiness, and you've got to love it.
You've got to love it, because you're not going to get a great reward for it, especially early on. And learn your craft. You learn your craft. You've got to be good at what you do. But let's say, I mean, more than ever, it's for the love of it, really.
Yeah.
Years ago, we want to make it big. We want to make it big. You could do showcase gigs around the country to try and get somewhere. and you get record companies to come and see you, and hoping to get a deal. But the record deals that are there now, they're not really great record deals. They're just, you don't get a budget.
No.
We'll give you so many CDs. Most of the bands get 50 CDs to sell at gigs, and then the record company sells their half on digitally. So yeah, it's not a deal really.
No.
You could do that yourself, can't you? If you're organised, you could do that yourself.
Yeah. You mentioned the budget that they would allocate. Is this budget something that goes towards studio time, or is that up to the band?
Well, there used to be.
Yeah.
If you got a deal years ago, you'd have a big amount, depending on the record company, but you'd get a budget to record, and the record company would recoup that from your sales. But that doesn't exist for bands of this level anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's a sad state of affairs, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem the music industry is in a strange place right now in 2025.
But then again, I mean, exposure is better, isn't it? I mean, you can promote yourself much easier than you could then. There was no internet then, so now I know there's a gazillion bands to choose from, so trying to get through the net is hard. But at least you can do it on the internet,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean,
and if you've got somebody who's on it and can promote it and get gigs, that is always the crux for me. The members that are really like, come on, we got to get somewhere. Say the bands that get further, rather than the easygoing chaps,
right?
Like me and you,
Yeah,
we're just like, oh, I'm in a band, and I play on the weekend now and again.
Yeah.
But if you've got to have that guy who drives for everybody, So I don't know if that's a theory or not, but there you are.
Well, I think it sounds right.
Yeah.
I think that sounds absolutely bang on. Yeah.
But,
cool. Yeah.
What do you talk about next?
I don't know. So, okay. What if somebody wanted to get into sound engineering?
Again, that's difficult again, isn't it? I was lucky. I said earlier on that the guy liked my band, so he gave me an opportunity. But it's more homemade now, so you can do it at home, really, can't you? You could probably get clients from home.
Yeah, it's a good
drum
point.
kits. Okay, drum kit. You need space to record drums, but you don't really, because there's plenty of programs you could use to replace drums, Superior Drummer or whatever, Drummergog and your Steven Slate plugins. That you can get great drums. I find it's never quite the same as a real drummer, but you can still do it and it sounds great, So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't look at getting into it if you're looking to make money, like I've said this before, but there isn't much in it. I mean, I'm lucky I've managed to keep this going for all these years. But it's tough, isn't it? I mean, it's the same as the musicians. It's for the love of it, or you want to record bands. I would say, do that. Find something else to do as well, to support it. If you want to do that, that would probably be the best plan.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to do that solely, then you've got to be extremely lucky, But then again, to say get to a studio, get pushy, try and get in,
Yeah.
and do anything,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it must be very difficult to just. I want to do that, and then get a position in studios. It's not an easy thing, Because myself, I mean, I've had people come to me. To be honest, I don't want anybody here.
No. Right.
I just want to be left alone to do it myself, and that's all I need is me.
Yeah.
I do get a bit of help now and again, but most of the time it's just me. So you probably get that elsewhere. They're like, oh, I don't want some stranger coming in here,
Yeah, it's understandable, really. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you've got to really want to do it, but I would suggest have a backup plan, just in case.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Do you have a favourite gig
To play?
that you've ever played? Any
Played.
favourite gig at all?
I remember back in the original days, Well, Pussy. I remember us doing a competition in Birmingham, and we didn't know if we thought we were good, but there was this competition in Birmingham was like I don't know, 200 bands all paired off against each other every week, and we were paired off against a band from Birmingham, and we went up there. Nobody knew us, and they played first. They went on a storm. They were all right. They were like sort of a U2 kind of band. And then we'll show them. We put our gear down, and everybody disappeared from this club. And we played, and you had to get. There was 5 judges, and they all get 50 points each, the maximum 50 points each, and you had to get like 80 to get through.
Okay.
And to get through the next round, and the maximum score had been like 120. It'd be the most any band had got. So I remember saying to the first band they got 60 points or something. They didn't get through, and I remember I was walking off the stage, and the announcement went on. Well, Pussy, with the highest points in the tournament so far, we had 205 points, and when he said that, I was like a vindication. You know, I felt really good about that. I was thinking, wow, we are a good band, you know. It didn't come to anything. The competition got cancelled. They just gave us a support slot for some metal band. But at that time, I was just thinking, wow, that was a great feeling. But
Wow.
there's been loads of gigs, and I don't know, they were all good to some extent, you know.
Yeah.
But now I play everywhere, and I can't tell you one gig from another, really, you know.
Right, really. Huh.
Some of the clubs, I like playing the clubs now, you know. But to old people, blue rinses. But yeah, I was back in the day. I used to play in Bogies in Cardiff. I used to love playing there. I used to call it the Cardiff circuit. We'd play Bogies, we'd play Clan Arran Rugby Club, and Tonopandi Naval, right after each other. You know, and they were the 3 main gigs in Wales.
Right.
You know. And that was as much as the scene was then. You
Really?
know.
Wow.
There's a couple of gigs in Newport as well. I think it was Lasers and what was the other place called? On Stow Hill. It was.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of the other place. Can't remember. And obviously it was Seagulls, which turned into that place where Kurt Cobain proposed to his wife. Can't remember. Anyway, down the bottom end of Newport there. But there was a few gigs in Newport. But that was pretty much it, really, back then. There's more gigs now, really.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so yeah, I couldn't say a favourite gig, really, because my memory's gone, really. But
No, that's a good one with the Wild Pussy one. I think that's a good one.
I always remember that. I was like, oh, it made me feel good. I did.
Yeah.
But
Because that's a big competition. Really,
Yeah,
that's massive.
but we had like I say, we played a couple of gigs in London. And they were good gigs. I remember playing in a place called Sticker Rock in London, and back then you used to have to go to the Severn Bridge. You know, and they've got the 2 bridges now. But it was terrible weather, and we'd organised a coach people to come and see us, you know. And so we go on about 9 o'clock. You know. So there's only people there, the London people, you know. And there's no sign of our coach because they closed the bridge because the weather was so bad. And literally all these people turned up like 5 minutes before we started to play, watched the gig, and then they all had to go home. Nobody was happy about that, you know.
Oh no!
Can we have our money back, please?
No!
No, nobody was drunk. I know you had time to get drunk. You know.
Oh no! That's dreadful.
But yeah, but so we played the Marquee twice, and we headlined the second time. That was nice. We had just towards the end of the band, when it was Religion, we had a band called a manager called Kevin Malloy, and he got us a gig in there, and that was a good gig in the Marquee. It was nice to play the Marquee. When you go in and you see like they got like posters of Kiss and Metallica because they all played there, you're thinking, wow,
Yeah.
they knew.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they had more people than us. But, But yeah, no. But nowadays I like going out with my mate. We just play clubs. That's all we do, and just enjoy that. That's my level now, really. I mean, I don't think really I was cut out for the big time. I'm kind of happy the way it is, and picks me up in the van. Off we go. Where we going tonight? Set up, play, make people happy, and come home. Then that's enough for me. I enjoy that. We get the odd big gig, a festival or something, But yeah, that's pretty much where I am at the minute, I think, and I probably will stay, I expect.
To be fair, it's a nice scene though. It's a nice local scene. I've played a few local gigs now, and I thoroughly enjoy it myself. I think it's it's quite a lot of venues around. I don't know. I suppose it's massively different. I'm not coming from the same experience, of course, of all the bands that you've been in.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's massively different from that, really. But
no. I like I said, look, I was in a band for 10 years with a band called Mr. Hate, and I was a cover band, and we were doing like 70, 80 gigs a year.
Right.
And that was great fun.
Yeah.
And they're still going. I left about a year and a half ago, but they're still playing. They're probably playing this weekend, I expect.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah, I saw you playing in Mr. Hate.
That's right.
I think I saw one gig, potentially two. Massive sound. Yeah, it was great. Really, really great.
Yeah, it was good time. I mean, I say after 10 years, I'd had enough, really. But they found another guitar player. Actually, there's not an original member left in Mr. Hate from the original lineup.
Oh, okay, right, wow.
But yeah, I hope they just carry on. They're doing great.
Yeah.
So, and I'm back with the original singer from Mr. Hate. So we'll Bite the Bullet duo, and then we'll just carry on doing that. I think for the time being, anyway.
Yeah. Cool. So, when you've got a band in, you're recording them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that there's a disparity between you, yourself, the engineer, and them, the band, in terms of, is there anything that you need to communicate to the band that maybe they don't know, because they're the performers, they're the musicians, well, obviously you're the musician as well, but they're the performers, and they don't see through the engineering eyes that you've got, really? Some
see how it all works and they understand, but some don't. So I got a plan at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the first thing I could do is analyse kind of who they are. I'll do that in the first half an hour or whatever. And then it's a case of guiding the ship then, because some people will fly off at tangents. And I'm saying, no, we've got to build this house. You've got to stick to what you're doing, and then we'll do those other things. But somebody will start talking to you about a guitar solo when they're still putting the drums down.
Right.
I think, well, tell me later, but because I find if you get sidetracked, it gets really wishy-washy, and it's like, what are we doing next? We'll forget to do something, so you've got to build it up. But every band is slightly different, and where you might have a plan, it might change halfway through, So I'm trying to think of the best way to do everything all the time, but still trying to control everybody, as nicely as I can,
Right, yeah.
You don't want to come on too heavy. Some people don't want you to do it, so you push so far and then you say, okay, I'll leave it to you.
Right.
But it's trying to judge that,
Mm.
Generally it's okay, and like I say, every recording is different. You might start, like some people start with the general way we do the drums first, get good drum takes, bass, guitar, but sometimes it starts backwards to that,
Right.
Another guy I recorded, we'd start with a chorus, and we'd just start doing a chorus with no drummer involved.
Okay.
And then the last thing we put on is the drums.
Okay, yeah.
So it's always, it could be a different journey for every band,
Yeah.
And there's some people send me a pile of stems, and they'll be already kind of sorted,
Okay, yeah.
They'll have the backing tracks ready for the drummer to drum to. All I do is fly it in,
Right.
sync it up to a click, and the drummer can drum to that, and then they might take it back to their studio and carry on there, bring it back to me later, you know. But yeah, guiding the ship is the tricky bit. And that's just more like managing people, really.
Okay.
I think, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Keeping people focused on.
Yeah. Obviously, in music, there's some crazy people about, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
you know, people who like to drink when they do it, and drugs. You know, it's all there, and it's music business after all, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so at the same time, you've got to deal with people who are like a bit tipsy or can't perform anymore because they're so drunk, you know. I know, but it doesn't always like that. Don't get me wrong. But there are bands that are. You know, it's like a day out for them, you know. You've got to drag the drummer out of bed because he's drunk or something, you know. But yeah, keeping it on track is that's the talent, I think, really, is doing that.
Yeah.
You know, because and you're thinking about, is there any problems with this, you know, and listening to see if there's any mics gone down, or you've got some sort of interference or something. You got to think about it early on, otherwise later on that becomes a problem. You know, so trying to do as correctly as you can, you know, all the way through.
Yeah.
That's the plan. You know. Okay, so far.
I'm surprised. So it sounds like it's more people management than I ever thought it was. That didn't even remotely occur to
Yeah,
me.
because everybody's so different.
Yeah.
You know, and a person who was very nice out in the street when you talk to them becomes a different person in the studio.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, can very maniacal or like controlling.
Yeah. Right.
And you can see that, so you've got to kind of deal with that as well. And be the people who are not nice, you still got to be nice to them. You know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay, we're back. Audio's still going though, so that's cool.
What else do we need to know?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I have got a list actually. Where did I put that?
I did see it. Cooper eat it.
Yeah, possibly.
I might have folded it up. Did I?
I think I've put it somewhere. Where have I put that?
Over there.
There we are. Okay. I was wondering-
Groupies. No.
That was the. Do you know that's all? That's all it says on here. It's just groupies in caps, in very large print. So. Yeah. Well. Okay. Do you have a favourite piece of gear?
Well,
Guitar or?
we're always searching for gear.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
guitarists, you know, who spend thousands and thousands of pounds on guitar gear to pay like £100 to get to the pub. But I used to use a Laney GH50 head with the Marshall cap. I used that for a long time, and then age set in, and I just thought of putting a cab into the back of the car at the end of the night was just too much. So I went from that to the Kemper, and the Kemper I used that for a long time. But I still had a 2x12 cab, using it with that. And I played like that for ages, and I've been using the Kemper with the Duo up until recently, and like about 3 months ago I changed to the Quad Cortex. So I'm just getting used to that now.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty good. But I do have a backup pedal that I take just in case. You know,
Okay.
so the LYNDON EP02,
Okay. Right.
which is a 250 quid pedal.
Yeah. Right.
Which is
So-
alright though. So I've used it in gigs, it's alright.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the Quad Cortex, that's what I'm using at the moment. I still haven't got to where I want to be. But I literally bought it, played a gig after 2 weeks, and I should have done more
Right.
research.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But so I played a couple of gigs and went back to the Kemper
Right.
because I know that.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm persevering with the Quad Cortex, and I know it's got in there. It's great. The depth of sound is really good with it,
Right.
and there's less latency as well. I noticed that.
Yeah.
Like if you're using like a drop tuning or something, there's always a gap between hitting the note and it actually coming out. The punters will never know, but you notice it. You know, so it's less with the Quad than it is with the Kemper.
Oh, wow. Okay. Say a drop tuning. Does that make a difference? The tuning?
Not the drop tuning, the tuning it on the quad or the Kemper, just dropping a bit. Because some songs your singer can't sing, it's too high, so we just change the key on them.
Right.
And I can change without changing the tuning on the guitar. Electronically, you change it, and you get a little latency.
Right. Yeah.
It's all right. I can deal with it though, but it's less on the quad than it is on the Kemper.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I was looking up something like a good latency. I mean, I have no idea. I'm sure you know much better, but a good latency to shoot for is something like 10 ms.
Yeah.
Ideally, and I think I with my really awful, recording skills at home, I think I tried recording previously with something like, I think I had like, firstly 50 ms was impossible.
Yeah.
Press the key and set your watch and.
Yeah. That's what we always try to get the shortest buffer size you can have when you're recording, but the trick is not use a lot of plugins straight away.
Yeah, right.
Everything can be recorded tight and neat, but when you chuck everything in, all the effects and all the plugins, you can make it a little wider then, make it slower, because you're not relying on somebody playing in time then.
Right. Yeah.
But generally, since I've had the latest computer, I keep it tight all the time.
Yeah.
So when you got, I don't know, 70 or 80 tracks running at the same time, that's when I might change it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's amazing to think back in the day, 24 tracks is all we had, and that would not be enough now.
No.
Not for anybody, not most punk bands.
No.
Suddenly you look at it and you think, I'm approaching 100 tracks. How did that happen? Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Vocals, loads of vocals.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with Brian Adams, and he was on about working with Matt Langer, the producer, and he said he made me record this backing vocal 48 times. Right? He said, thank God that's over. And Matt Langer went, well, that's the left side, we're going to do the right side now. I was like, wow, that's some thick vocal.
Wow.
Yeah, he's very meticulous, he is. Yeah.
Sheesh.
But ear-wise, I mean, I've gone through umpteen guitars. I've always played Ibanez guitars, but the last 3 or 4 years I've played an ESP EC1000, and I use that because it's got a piezo pickup in it as well, which is an acoustic pickup, so I can play more stuff, more versatile. It's really quite good.
Yeah.
So I use that more often than not. But yeah, I bought loads of bad guitars. But a bad guitar to you could be a good guitar to somebody else. They think, I can't play that. You can sell it to somebody and they go, that's the best guitar I've ever had. And okay, it just depends on the person, really.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So any particular standout of all the guitars you've had? Any particular favourite?
The Ibanez RG570, I got a few of those. Before that, I used to be the RG550s. I still got them, but I don't play them. I don't know why. But at the moment, I take, like I said, the EC1000, and it can change. I got an LTT Telecaster I take as a backup most of the time, but I'm going to start taking the Ibanez back out, because we just put Bark at the Moon back in the set, and I can't play it on the new guitar. I can barely play it. I think I've slowed down. I've been practicing it, and I couldn't do a first song in the set.
Right.
I got to warm up a bit.
Right.
But the right hand is just not as fast as it used to be. So, but it's a little easier on the Ibanez because it's a shred machine.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Is that what it? When you're saying your favourite guitar, is that a playability thing?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Ibanez is the easiest guitar to play. And I'm always looking for a guitar that played that easy. But really, whatever the guitars, you get something out of it. I mean, the EC1000 is harder slightly to play, but I kind of like it. I kind of like be able to dig in and work hard on it, to get what I want out of it.
Right.
And,
yeah.
You play different on different guitars. I think that's what it is, And rather than making excuses for yourself, really, I can't do that, It's just that particular song, I can't quite keep up on that guitar.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So, I could just about get away with it. But plus there's a bend on it, which I can't do. So I need a trem, need a Floyd Rose for that.
Right.
But that's the easiest guitar, is the Ibanez, for sure.
Cool. Okay, so you mentioned operating system. You switched over in the last year?
No, I probably about 3 years ago now. Yeah, I think so.
Is it really 3 years ago?
Yeah, I definitely have. I changed from the Mac, went to Windows, but the first year was a bit of a nightmare because I had a problem with the computer, kept crashing all the time, back and forth sending it back. So I went to Windows, went back to the Mac, back to Windows, in and out with it all, and then eventually I managed to get Windows to work for me. I've probably done over 2 years with the Windows now, I think,
Right.
So yeah, and the machine is much faster than the Mac was, the Pro 4. But I might end up going back to Mac. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Were you Mac all previous to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I say Mac was reliable, but I probably went through about 5 of them.
Really?
Probably more than that, maybe.
Bloody hell.
I got various Macs lying around the building.
Yeah, I did. I've noticed. Yeah. Right. Okay. But you've always been on Mac, and then switching over to Windows. I can't imagine how much of a bugger that was, with the amount of data that you've got to transfer.
That was the hardest thing. It becomes less of a problem the longer I go away from the Mac, because you would start a project on the Macintosh computer and then finish it on the Windows computer, and then you've got to transfer the thing over. So obviously I put as much as I could do on a hard drive, but every now and again somebody goes, have you still got that demo? I don't want to drag that out now.
No.
Plus the plugins are all different, so you can't just give them a mix, you've got to set it up again, and the inputs and outputs are different. So yeah, that was the hardest thing, but it not that bad. Looking back on it now, it's just, it had to be done. I'll probably end up going back and do the same problems.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough.
Unless I retire first.
Yeah.
Which could happen. So I guess I'm approaching the end now, really. I mean, I got about 7 or 8 years till retirement.
Surely not.
Yeah, I know.
Surely not.
Either that or I'll go deaf.
Oh, well.
Could go deaf.
Huh. Hopefully not on that front either.
Well, we'll see. But I can still hear you.
Well, that's alright. That's probably the only thing I probably wouldn't want to hear. I wouldn't mind hearing all the music, but...
I remember years ago when my band was recording in Grassroots, we'd done the recording, we went for the mix, so we a pile of beer, and we sat in the back of the room, the first can, and the producer went, he said, that takes the top end off your urine? I went, oh, I didn't know that, okay. So
what, sorry?
It takes the top end off your urine of drink. I don't even know if that's true, but we stopped drinking.
Yeah, fair enough. Flipping hell.
But like I say, I don't drink at all now, but so I can't blame that. But, yeah.
Alright, I'm going to refer to the list.
Right.
Going to see if there's anything good on here.
We covered everything I might.
There's a fair bit on there. Okay, yes, so... Right, you've been in many bands. The one that is Low Life was one of them, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, yeah. So, that's the one that stands out to me. I've heard the record that you guys put out with that. Was it one record you guys put out, or did you put out more than one?
No, it was just one album, Transients.
That's it. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, it was a good record.
Oh, it's great.
It was me, Gary Lowe, and Lee Powell wrote that. And we wrote it in here, and we got Steve Williams to drum some of it, and we got a guy called Joe Evans to drum the rest of it. We had a keyboard player later on, Kevin Parry, and he was great, but before he came in, we programmed all the keyboards and everything, put it all together. It it was a great album. We got a deal with that actually, for what that was worth, and it did get up to number 2 in the classic rock charts on Amazon. But the band kind of imploded. We did a few gigs, and certain people didn't get on, like it always is. It's a shame, really. We get on now. It's funny, like, you know, but the record was really good, and we did record an extra song as a band afterwards, after they was finished, called what was it called? Something Sun it was called. But it was a great song, and we did it as a band, and that was the only one we did where everybody was involved, and Rising Sun it was called, and never got released on anything.
Right.
But, I think one radio station played it because they liked it, but it was a shame, really. But we've had rumours of, no rumours, we've talked to each other again about doing something, but we never really got back to it, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But that was a great album, and you know, we're glad it did it because the songs stand up.
It sounds awesome. It is a great record. It's really, really good.
I've forgotten about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a poster there, Best Rock Exposure Music Awards, so won awards as well.
Yeah, that was in London, and we didn't think we could we didn't think we'd win it, so we didn't go. So Steve Lamack, the DJ, picked the award up for us.
Wow.
You know, yeah, and we should gone then, you know. But,
and came number 1. Wow.
Yeah. So, but that album was great, and it's a shame that we didn't do more. But it's just personalities, I think, really. Certain people didn't get on with other people. And I just got a bit fed up with arguments, you know. And
right, yeah.
It wasn't me. I didn't argue with anybody.
Of course.
You know, I'm a nice guy.
So, okay, writing on that album though. So how do you go about your writing?
Well, then it was good because where we are sat now, the three of us would sit here, and we would just, because we've come from separate kind of musical styles. It was kind of competitive, but in a nice way. We had our best stuff. I'll come up with something here, and it kind of worked, you know.
Right.
And the songs were great. I mean, there were certain songs like the bass player. It was a funky song. But to be honest with you, he played most of the instruments on one of the songs. But whatever suited us, you know. I was like the rock guy, but Gary was come from like U2, that kind of, you know. So like some of that delay guitar stuff going on as well, you know. So it was a good blend, you know, and while we were together, it worked really well, you know. We did record it and then try and get it ready for the stage, and realised we couldn't play it, so we had to play versions of the songs.
Okay. Because
suddenly you never actually jammed them, we just rewrote them, and when it was quite difficult to get them to a stage where they were okay live, you know.
Right.
We did,
yeah,
but it was like, wow, you know, it was surprising, you know, how hard it was to get it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time, and we enjoyed writing us together. It comes on a Wednesday night, and we just hammer out another track,
right.
Or somebody'd have a little bit of an idea, and we go with that, you know. And it was great until it didn't work.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
You know, but I forgot about that album. But that's good. That was
great album.
Yeah.
But so as a process though, you guys wrote collectively. You were all in the same room.
The three of
and
us.
You all just worked it out.
Yeah.
And
we had lots of it when the band was together. Though we came up with lots of ideas, some good stuff here and there, you know. But we only finished the one song complete. But there were other ideas with good bits in them that we hadn't really organised. Right. You know, if I went back now, I think probably they should have been done. Something should have been done with them. Some grandiose stuff, you know. Yeah. But but we hadn't found the formulas for some of it. You know, it was, you know. But yeah, it was a shame really. But never know. We might do something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, again, I
Never
know.
say never.
No. Yeah, fair enough. Great. Yeah. Okay, so what is the most common issue you see with bands nowadays? I think we kind of covered it, didn't we, with the recording stuff, but in just in general, not necessarily recording.
Issue with bands, I don't know. I think you get rid of the jealousy. Jealousy? I sound like Sean Connery there. Jealousy. No, I noticed it never changes over the years. The bickering between bands, you know, like, oh, they're no good, or that,
Right.
you know, there's always been that. I
Yeah.
think if, you know, be more of the punk theory, like they tend to help each other out, you know. But
Right.
in the rock world, it's bitchy.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
I still see a bit of it now, you know.
Yeah, right.
But no, I don't know what the issue is. The issue is just, like I said earlier on, you know, being somebody who was forceful in the band, who can push the band. That is the problem somewhere. They're so easy going and nice people. Nothing ever happens from them, however talented they are. If you don't tell people you're good or get somewhere like that, it's not going to happen unless somebody's forcing the issue. Right?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on. Absolutely. Okay, cool. Okay, so to be fair, we kind of did touch on it, but inspirations. I think you mentioned Kiss. You mentioned another one you mentioned at the start. You mentioned a few.
There was loads of bands really, but guitar-wise, I mean, the first guitar hero for me was Ace Frehley from Kiss, you know.
Okay.
Who was known as the technical player, and he's not too great these days. But I loved him. I liked Matthias Jabs from the Scorpions and early John Roth. I don't play like them, but I liked it. I liked Dave Menichetti at the Y&T. He was a great player.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm Billy Gibbons. He's the top. I'd say I play more like Billy Gibbons than any of them, really.
Right.
All the pinched harmonic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And he's just tasteful. Without being fast, he's tasteful. You know. Yeah, I used to love the ZZ Top. Well, the early ZZ Top albums. I used to love those.
Yeah, they've got great stuff.
Because they turned into a different band later on, but after Eliminate they became more of a pop band, I suppose. But still some good stuff there.
Yeah.
But those early albums of ZZ Top were beautiful playing. You know. Great sound on them too for the time they were done in the 70s, you know. Other than that, what else did I like? What was it? I don't know, all the metal, Dio, I loved all that stuff, and Rainbow, Richie Blackmore. Yeah, that was pretty much where it came from, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, all great stuff. I mean, you're absolutely right. You yourself, you're a very tasteful player. I mean, obviously.
I don't know about that.
You are, absolutely, 100%. So I learned with yourself when I was 13.
I remember you coming in with Grandfather.
That's right, yeah.
You frightened me, you did. Because you came in with Grandfather, and obviously you were going to be faster at learning than him. And then you came in the next week on your own, and he went, "Oh, I've learned this lick, this blues lick." And I went, "Oh, I've done you together."
Really, right, okay.
And I was thinking, "Oh my God, like, that's really impressive." You know, I was like week 2.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but we went through a lot of stuff, didn't we? We were learning stuff, and to the point where I couldn't teach you anything else, really, you know. But,
well, that was about 3. I think, as far as I remember, it was about 3 years you were teaching me.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think I started when I was 13 here.
Yeah.
But everything spoke to me. The setup, everything, the way you taught, it was all just absolutely bang on. And I'd gone through teachers previously, and I just never thought that guitar was for me. You know, I'd had guitar teachers, and their method was just not right, you know. And so there was something about your method. I don't know if that's something that you've refined over the years, or if that's something that you...
I don't know. I thought it was the easiest way to do it. Obviously, I'm a little bit pushy, but you know, you do tend to put your finger there. But I thought the idea of putting the commentary on things
Mm.
was a good thing. Because it's like when you go home and you've got a CD to listen to, and you've got me telling you the bits coming up. That's handy, innit? Now I tend to do a lot of videos with people. They film me, and and they can see everything then.
Right, yeah. But previously what you were doing was you were recording over the song that you would teach somebody,
Yeah.
like overdubs on the mic.
Yeah. I don't know when I came up with that.
No.
But I thought that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I did it in here, and counting people into the next part, or telling them what the chord was before the chord came up. So I don't know how I came up with that. That's the way I did it, and it worked well for most of the time. It's still most people learn, but some people don't get it. Unfortunately. Or don't practice.
Yes.
They don't get it, and the one who can't be bothered. Their parents are pushing them in you.
That
But
absolutely.
a lot of guys learned, and there's a lot of guys in bands now. And what's that guy, Sam Hill, plays for Excursia. He came in here for a while, and I was teaching him. He's absolutely amazing now. I mean, I didn't see him I did it for about a year or so, and then he went and taught himself. But I wish I could play like him. He's amazing.
Right. Wow, yeah.
Fast, and tasteful as well.
Yeah.
So it's good when you see them doing so great.
Yeah.
I taught him his first chord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So did you refine because I imagine you've been teaching if you've been running the studio for 22 years, did you start teaching early, or is that something that was down the line, because you'd already been in bands for years prior to this? So
I used to do the odd lesson before, but I never considered myself a guitar teacher really. I always thought it was like trying to help people, trying to push them, trying to get them to play something. It wasn't the most technical of lessons. It was just like, I do everything by ear, so I listen to it. Somebody will come in with a song, I want to play that song. I'm pretty good at picking it up and learning it, like yourself now, But I got that from my original guitar lessons I had with that Nigel Brown.
Right.
And I seen how he did it. Like you saw, you went, I can see how this is done. I saw him and I went, I can do that. I can do those notes. I can do that, And it's not brain surgery, but if you've got I suppose you've got to have a decent ear, haven't you? And it depends on how the song is produced as well. Sometimes you can hear things really clearly, and sometimes it's lost in the mesh. I think, what is they playing there?
Yeah.
But I've always done it that way, and also like just being a little bit pushy and try to be light-hearted with it, not being, I'll give you the evil eyes if you haven't practiced, I have a way of being. I say, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Get out. Yeah. But I've always done it that way, But few people are still playing now. Well, that's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was an extremely effective way of teaching. At the time, I didn't realise how effective it was because I was 13. Wouldn't really know, but I knew that it was something that I needed to carry on with for the lessons. But it seems like the way that you model your guitar lessons is, again, like I said, very, very effective, with the easygoing approach, bit pushy, but it's a very to me it seems like a lot of mimicking. That's what it was to me. It was a lot of, you would show how to play something and I wouldn't be able to play that thing, and then it would be a back and forth of copying, right? But it worked brilliantly,
There were some good players who came out of it, and hopefully they're still playing now. I've lost touch with most of them now because they're all grown up.
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough.
I know it's like the recording thing as well. Everybody's wired differently, and some people need more help than others. Some people take longer to get things. So you've got to be patient. You can't go, well, come on. you know.
Of course.
You just keep going at them, you know, because
Yeah.
you don't want to get them disillusioned. They've got to still think they want to do it, you know.
Mm.
And some people who take longer to get things and they still try hard. I like those people. They you know, fair play to them. And they do get it in the end, you know.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't come quite as naturally to them, but they stick at it. They've got the character, and they.
That's life, isn't it? And
Yeah.
if we were all great, you know, we're all slightly working at a different pace, unfortunately, you know. Or fortunately, that's the way life is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
So, what do you think? What do you find the most rewarding out of maybe recording bands,
mm,
playing,
mm.
obviously teaching as well, I suppose? Is there anything in particular that stands out as being something that's very satisfying when you look back over everything that you've accomplished?
The recording, yeah, but playing, I like playing.
Yeah.
That's the thing I enjoy most.
Mm-hmm.
It's called showing off, I suppose, but you go out and you play and everybody enjoys it, but I just like playing more than anything else, and that's the thing I'll probably end up doing more towards the end of my life, I suppose. But I've had some good recordings, and see, bands do really well. I like that when they've done the recording and it's done well as well,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And but yeah, I enjoy that. But you know, there's not a day I don't come in here and panic.
Mm.
I always, when I've set up for any band, I'm thinking, hope everything works,
Mm.
hope everything goes okay.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing, because if I was lethargic, I wouldn't care so much. But I'm always thinking, get it right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd be straight with them. I am like that, but I would say I don't even think properly for the first half an hour, because I'm thinking, is everything working? Got everything going okay? And then once I settle down, I can start suggesting things to bands and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Bloody camera. I'm sure every single one of these I'll be swearing at the camera. But
I had a camera for Christmas over there. I haven't even plugged it in yet.
yeah.
I thought I wanted one. Because I'd done a couple of videos for people.
Right.
You know. I thought, oh, I'm going to get into that. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But and I did do a few little things, but I haven't had the time. You know.
Right. Yeah.
This year has been so busy. I don't know what I'm doing different.
Mm.
But I'd say only in the last 2 weeks I've had some time.
Really?
Because when you record stuff, it's already recording it. It's finishing the thing. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And when you've got people coming in all the time,
Mm.
you're thinking, when am I actually going to get it done? And suddenly it starts building up.
Mm.
People are ringing you, have you done this for me? Oh, right, tomorrow I'll be in trying to fix this and finish it. So yeah, it's been really, really busy. Ridiculous. It's Christmas. But eased off for the last 2 weeks, so I've been able to finish some stuff. You know.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing as soon as we finish, really. I'll be back to it.
Straight back to it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
My helper.
Oh, I'll have to get a shot of him on the camera at some point.
Cooper,
I've got
come here,
Cooper here.
come here, buddy.
He's been sleeping for most of this.
Come here. I'll take it from a deep slumber now.
Oh, there he is.
There he is, the cutest dog in the world. Neighbour. Hello.
On the back here, I've got all the questions for Cooper.
Yeah. So when did you get into metal, Cooper? What's your favourite artist? Snoop Dogg. Is that Snoop Dogg?
Snoop Dogg, yeah.
Who let the dogs out? That's a favourite song.
Oh, gosh.
What's it, Bark at the Moon? Bark at the Moon! Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the dog puns are lost to me at the moment.
I've used them before. They have.
Oh, right, okay. That's cheating. If you've got those all, those are all in the back of your head already. I've got to come up with them on the fly.
Don't worry about it.
Come prepared next time. But,
I'll bring a cat then.
Cool. Okay. Well, I haven't got really any questions left, to be honest.
I
I'm
think
sure
you covered everything. My life wasn't that interesting.
So one final thing I would like to, unless there's anything you want to discuss, one final thing is, what do you think of the music industry in 2025?
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask, because I'm working at a low level, really, you know, in the valleys, as they say. Like I said earlier on, it's harder because there's no carrot for anybody. I've answered this before, because it's you've got to admire these people for really trying when they go no real no eyes on success or anything. It's just, you might get there, but it's very difficult. So you know, I would say it's but it's good from the point of view that you can get your stuff out on social media. That's good. You know, anybody can get this stuff out. You know, not being organised.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good bands. I mean, bands I'm working with, the Pyrogarics, they're really good. Not plural, Pyrogaric. Sister Morphine, they were great. They were a good album here. Obviously Tiger Tails. But they're established. They've been around, you know. So they got the success early on, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a band called Red Joker. Record here, they're good. It's another good band that they didn't record yet, but I like them. Revolution Rabbit Deluxe, they were a good band. I should their album, and that sounds good. Good songwriting. Songwriting is a thing, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, I agree.
Not just my guitar sounds crushing.
Yes.
Yeah, but what's the idea?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So touching on that point, what do you think makes a song great?
Well, inspiration, you know, you've got to have the inspiration for it, but at the same time there's a craft, because you see a lot of songs now which is a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus, interlude, chorus end, and or you'll see the same riff for the verse and the chorus, and the music won't change, they'll just change the melody slightly. Like there's not as much craft in it, you know, like the ELOs or, you know, or 10cc's or those type of bands, where they were, that's a chorus, that's a bridge, that's a middle eight.
And they're all drastically different.
Yeah, because there's a journey on those songs, you know. And I think, you know, that's what I like to listen to.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise I get bored just pretty quickly, you know.
Yeah.
So I think something, you listen to something and go, I like that, that's cool, you know. But like a lot of the pop music, it's okay, but it's just strummed and it's the same chords, and it's auto-tuned to hell and back. Like almost everything is auto-tuned to hell and back, you know, to the point where the vocals sound like keyboards. Yeah. Because the note will change like sharp.
Awful. Yeah, it's not nice.
But people can't hear it.
Yeah.
You know, it's only some people can't hear that. But to me, it's annoying. You know.
Awful. Yeah. My favourites are back in probably the 60s when autotune really wasn't around. That's some of my favourite vocal takes ever. You know, I know that's not for everybody, but yeah, you're right. Some of them are nauseatingly auto-tuned.
Yeah.
It's
and some of the artists don't even know they've been auto-tuned.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not saying I don't use auto-tune, I do. But not to that extent. Not so drastic, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll try and avoid it if I can. But sometimes you got it, you know.
Yeah, just kind of touching up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense. I think it comes...
He says with autotune on behind him on the screen.
Oh,
Never touch it.
That's excellent. Is that in the shot? Yeah, it is. That's fantastic.
There you go. Bang to right.
Yeah. So for songs, what makes a song great? You mentioned inspiration and really craft. Then. Yeah. I suppose that makes that is probably the centre principle of most things. Really, is probably craft, is just working at it.
Yeah. I mean, if a song hasn't got a middle eight, I have to put a middle eight in a song.
Really?
Generally, I just have to. I love it when a song goes off on a tangent and comes back, or even sometimes goes off on a tangent and never comes back. That's just great, you know. It just shows a bit of imagination, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
It breaks it up.
But when you hear somebody play something, you go, I've heard this before.
Yes.
A million times. There's almost everything you've heard before, but it's the way they put it together that makes it interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember I used to have a guy who worked here once, and we were recording a band, and they were in the other room, and they said, "This sounds like Crazy Horses, doesn't it, by the Osmonds?" He went, "Yeah." I said, "Don't say anything." And the first thing he said when they came in, he went, "Sounds like Crazy Horses." I was like, "Oh, God." So even if you think it, don't say it.
Yeah. It's hard to escape though, I think, when you're writing. You know, it could be something like as simple as it comes on the radio, and then, you know, a day later you think, oh gosh, I've written something great here, and
it'll spark, you know, you'll hear an idea by somebody and it'll spark something in your mind and think, I know what that is, what is that? I've heard that elsewhere. That's just going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they might do something different with the rest of the song, but that one bit is like, ooh, that's
yeah.
I've heard that a million times.
Yeah, and that one bit, I think, is all it really takes to, if your song goes big, to get sued. If it's pretty much note for note, melody, chords are there. It can be
kind of, but it could be in a different key or something. But yeah, there's a lot of that going on, isn't it? I mean, plagiarism, my God, you know. But people coming here, and they're not likely to get sued.
No,
you know,
no.
They just if they get that next plateau, maybe, you know, if they get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I notice I say "but" all the time, but I can't think of the next thing to say.
I can't remember what the word is.
Get out of this.
I think it's I keep going I've noticed it in the first episode, and it's my new curse word.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've said it plenty of times today as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you were new to it. I've never been interviewed. I have been interviewed once.
Yeah.
But not for this long.
I know, it's been
a long time.
Hours. It's actually 2:00.
Right.
Wow.
I think I've said everything. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll have to edit bits of this together, wouldn't it? Really, you can't just let that.
I'll cut it down to 2 minutes.
Yeah, please. Take out the
Well,
what else have I done?
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to cover? I mean, I'm happy with it.
No,
I think we're
there, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we've run for quite a while. It's been at least an hour and a half, I'd say. So, Brill.
Okay.
Pleasure.
I'll have some dinner.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
No problem.
Pleasure. Cheers, Lynn.